Hey, Dustin here, Smoking Eagles Rod Shop. Thanks for stopping by. And today we're going to be changing the pinion seal on the front of this Ford 9-inch rear end. Now, this happens to be in my shorty panel van, but man, these things are in literally everything. Street rods, hot rods, all the old Fords. They're just iconic rear ends. Guys swap them out into anything and everything. Race cars, you name it, it's probably got it. Now, I'm not going to do a full restoration or clean up a bunch of rust or paint nothing. Man, we're going to drive this thing. So I'm going to show you guys how you can do this on your car and yeah, clean it up more if you want, or just drive the thing. So let's start ripping into this. First thing we need to do is we need to get this drive shaft out of here. So I'm going to go grab a wrench and we'll jerk these bolts out. Now, a couple quick tips for you here. I got this plastic ratchet from Harbor Freight. One thing these things are handy for is beating on the end of stuff that you don't want to screw the threads all up on. But yeah, you can always back your bolt out just a little bit, tap on it with a mallet or a hammer, just to knock this little U-bolt loose. You also want to put your vehicle in neutral so you can rotate it around, and if they're super tight and it tries to twist on you, you can always stick a big screwdriver through there or something just to kind of hold it still for you. Laying on the ground without a lift before, I stuck like a crowbar or a four-way in there, just wedge it in there and then up against the ground so you can get all your bolts loose. No big deal. Then just start pulling all your stuff apart. Somebody's already been here. Look at that. Grandpa was in here. There's a little bit of anti-seize on that. These U-bolts have probably been changed before then, or the universal joints. U-bolts. So rotate this around so that it opens up, and this will pop out on this side, give me a little bit of clearance. There, now we've got that out of there. Now I'm not gonna slide that forward. Hopefully it'll stay there for us and not fall while I go put this stuff down. Or drop it. Now you should be able to just slide your drive shaft forward just like that, right into the back of your transmission. Now I'm not going to pull this out. I'm just going to let it sit down just like this, and I'm not going to bump into it. Now some guys say that that puts a little stress on the back of your tranny. Yeah, I mean if you're going to swing on this thing or something, but I'm just going to leave it in there so that transmission fluid doesn't run out of the back of my tranny. It's probably not gonna, but don't bump that and knock your drive shaft out of the back of your motor. Out of the back of your transmission. Sorry. All right, so I got that all cleaned up. And I even hit it with a little bit of brake clean, kind of knocked some of the sludge off there. And I got me a paint pen. I fancy the orange ones. Use any color you want. I wouldn't recommend a rust color. I marked everything. So the nut all down in there, let it all dry. I even marked my socket, put it on my impact here. Now, if you don't have an impact, this is going to be on there pretty tight. Sometimes they're kind of a bear because this all wants to spin and move. So I recommend putting your tires back on, setting it back down on the ground. Then this won't turn on you and you can break it loose a lot easier if you don't have an impact. Now, I've marked my socket as well. It ain't gonna hurt nothing, but that way, if it just starts to spin off of there real quick, I can count my rotations because again, we wanna be able to put this thing right back where it is. So we'll see if I can get it to start loosening up. There it goes, starting to go. One, two. It seems kind of stupid, but you want to go slow at it because you really want to count those rotations. And at some point, it's going to come loose and just try and shoot off of there because this is a lock nut. So you can see my paint's kind of wore off there where the impact's hitting it, but I still got my orange paint up here and my socket is still marked. So we're good to go. So I'm going to keep going with this. We'll see how many turns it is. I'm going to guess 6. We're at 2. We're going to go with like 14 and a half, 15 turns. And that pulls that baby right off of there. Now I'm going to go over, before I forget, and I'm gonna remark this with my paint pen. So I recommend backing away from your phone or your TV because this stuff stinks and you don't want to smell it. Synthetic gear lube is even worse. But anyway, as you can see, we've got splines down in there that this sits on. I've got my paint mark right there. So I'm gonna put this so that I know exactly how it is. It's gonna be straight up and down like that. And then I'm gonna slide this baby off of there and we'll see our seal in there. Hopefully a ton of lube doesn't come running out of there, but if it does, we'll just have to put some more in it. I better get a catch pan under this. And I'm back with our puller. This one ought to work. It shouldn't be on there super tight. So, we should be able to just slap this baby on here. Slide her right out. Oh, dropped one of my nuts. Bolt through there. It's not hanging on to very many threads. I may have to turn this thing around. Make sure it's kind of square. Got a ratchet wrench. Not hitting this thing with no impact. And it's coming right off. Just needed that little bit of extra. So if you got the puller, use the puller. But I could have fiddle farted around with it for 20 minutes and just walked it off of there. But oh, did that hurt your ears as bad as it hurt mine? Brain freeze without the ice cream. There she be. I'm gonna go clean this up in the parts washer and then come back and we'll address the seal. So I got that all cleaned up and that's drying. Now, just need to clean this off a little bit and make sure that we actually got the right seal. Knock a lot of this crud off of here. Now, if you can't tell, our seal is right here. That's what we're gonna be replacing. So, I'll go get my seal remover tool after I check and make sure that our new seal is the correct one, because about the time I pop that out, I'm going to have the wrong seal. That's just the way of the world. Hey, that looks to be perfect. Now I am going to go check it on our other side, make sure this is the correct diameter. And we are cleared for takeoff. It is the correct size. So if you don't have one of these, I recommend you get one. They're a couple bucks. You just slide it right up in here on that seal. Come on, baby. And she pops out of there. Ugh, almost. That's the innards. That's the innards. It popped out part of the way. Well, that didn't work. Now we're losing the rest of our oil. Guess we'll be getting new oil. Getting new Earl. Oh man, thing's in there. It's trying. Go grab a screwdriver. Grab this screwdriver and give her a little bit of help. Where'd that hammer go? Oh, duh, it's right here. I am gonna swing my head right through this at some point, and you guys are gonna have front row seats. That thing should be popping out of there. man, that one was stuck in there. I'm gonna do the right thing and I'm gonna let that drain all the way down so that I can wipe that bearing race out really good and then pop our new one in. So I will let this sit and drain for a little bit and I'll meet you guys back here when, oh man, that stuff's bad. Whenever this thing's done. All right, so that is quit dripping and I've got our seal here. Now, I put just a thin skim coat of Permatex around the outside edge of that. Make sure that you use a gasket sealer that is approved for synthetic gear oil. If you just try and use regular Permatex or whatever, most gear oils that you find nowadays are a synthetic or synthetic blend, and it'll eat right through and it'll leak anyway, especially on all like your gaskets up in here on your pan or your back cover on a Chevy. You got to use that synthetic approved gear oil. Now, a regular bearing driver won't fit on here. So here is the trick. You take your seal, you're gonna put it right up on here like this, and I've wiped out the inside of that with a little bit of alcohol. Got it ready. So I've got that sitting there, and I happen to have a collector for exhaust. You put it up there and it is perfect, and it extends out past the end of the pinion. Then you can just take a hammer, mallet, start tapping that baby in there, nice and square. You go a little at a time. Once you get it started, like that, oh, this side's out a little bit. Like that. And get her to seat right down in there, just like so. Just make sure she's nice and good all the way around. It's that quick and simple. Now, before I came up with this cool idea a few years back, the other thing you can do is just use a couple blocks of wood, put a couple pieces of 2x4 up there, or you can take a piece of 2x4 with a hole saw and cut a hole in it so it'll slide right over, and then you can tap it on there. It just makes it really easy to be able to set this on here. I used to have a coffee can that was the exact right size, and I could stick over and tap on it, but it ended up lost in the sauce at some point, and that's when I came up with this idea, and this works really well. So if you've got random size collectors, I believe this is like a standard 3-inch collector. Fits right on there, goes right on that outside lip. I'll go get our, whatever that's called, I don't even remember anymore. Anyway, I'll go get the adapter for the drive shaft, and we'll get her in there. What is that? Front, rear yoke? It's a rear yoke. I'm gonna go get the rear yoke. I forgot the washer that goes on the front of the bearing. I noticed that right before I went to clean this off to put the yoke on there. So now I'm trying to pull this seal back out like you should never do. Re-Permatex it and it back in there and act like it never happened. Yeah, it's like a $6 seal, so normally I'd just go buy another one, except they had to order this one and I had to wait a day and a half for it. So, yeah, I know they don't have another one in stock. Can you go grab me a bigger screwdriver, Matt? So I just tapped a little baby screwdriver in there and just started working on it. Luckily, that Permatex hadn't set up yet, and it's still just a little bit loose. That might work. It might be big enough. Here's this one. And I'm just walking this baby out of here. It's like that, without bending it. Is there a bigger one over there, Matt? It's gonna just shoot out of here at some point. There, I got it to move. I'm trying not to bend this lip at all. So, baby steps. Yeah, that'll work.
I always hit my head.
No bendo. Oh, it's trying to bendo. Aha! Gotcha! Okay, so I'll go re-permatex this, put my washer on there. We'll do this again. All right, guys, we're gonna try this again. I actually have the washer this time. Goes right on front of my bearing here. Look at that. Perfect. Now, I did put one little teeny tiny bend in this, and it's right here. So I'm gonna put it to the top side. Just like so. Okay. Try this again. Since it works so well, I guess I'd show you guys twice.
Did you put the ring on this time?
Yep.
Would have been funny if you did it twice.
I know, that'd be hilarious. Not really. Okay, now it's time to put the pinion back on. Oh wait, the yoke. Now that I have this installed for the second time, I'm gonna go get the yoke and actually put it back on. All right, so now we got that on there. I'm gonna put a little bit of gear oil in here because this is an oil seal. So you wanna make sure that's lubed up good. I also will put a little inside my splines, like so, and around the outside edge of this, like so. So she all goes together good. Now, where these like to leak, they're notorious to leak right here. You can see where that's got that little wear line. So I cleaned it up really good on the wire wheel. I have pretty good success with that. Stuff not leaking later. Kind of rejuvenates it a little bit. Like that. Wipe my finger around here so that's got oil all the way around it up in there. Now, if you remember, I marked it with my orange paint. It went on, came off just like this, so I'm gonna put it back on just like this. Should line up with my splines, right like so. Probably right like that, where it's starting to slide in. So now we're just gonna tap this on, nice and slow. Should go right in, just like it came out. Work its way right down on there. And that's going right down in that seal, just like we want it to. Now that we've got that on there, we just need to put our nut back on. I'll put a little bit of Permatex around the backside of the nut because I've had a few leak out around these splines before. Not a lot, not real bad, but enough that you're like, where's that coming from? It's not a gasket or anything, so it doesn't take up any space. It's not gonna come loose on you. You just put a little bit of that Permatex around there, tighten that baby back down. Our 15 turns. Thanks for reminding me. I didn't go back and look at the camera footage to see how many times I turned that out. Okay, so I got our nut here, guys, and I'm gonna put it on here. And basically, I just rotate it until I get it started, and we start counting our rotations. Still not grabbing. There it grabbed. So, 1, 2, 3, 14, 15. Now I'm going to go till it stops. It's a little over 15. So I'm going to try and get to this 16. Oh, have to put the impact on it. Probably wasn't 15, it was probably really 16. You got a hold of it? There we go. There's no play forward and backward, which is what you don't want. You don't want forward backward play. Feels nice and smooth here, except we're out of lube, so we need to fill this up with gear oil, but it's right where we want it. Perfect. So Matt and I are gonna put oil in this. It's the only thing we got left other than putting this drive shaft back on. All right, guys, so the way you lube this up, I got this little jug of lube here, and I got the little straw on there. You pull your side plug out, and you want your oil to leak out of the hole. That's how you know she's full. Just like a Chevy, like everything else. Tip this up. And you can poke a hole in the side of this and hit it with an air hose. If it's completely empty, that's the way I usually do it. But this is gonna go in pretty quick. So got that filled up, topped off. I filled it up till it started leaking out, and then I put the plug in. I had Matt rotate the tire there a handful of times, both directions, just to make sure there was oil up on everything and kind of in everywhere. And then I pulled the plug back out, gave her a good and then it started leaking out again, and I put the plug back in. So that means it's gonna be just a little bit over full, but that's fine. It's not gonna be much. And now I just need to clean up these U-joint caps really good so that we can put her back on here and put our straps back in and our bolts. Ooh, shadow. And yeah. I don't grease up my U-joints because they have grease zerts on them. So if you got grease zerts on your U-joints, I recommend you grease those while you're there. And this job will be about done. All right, so I got our U-joint caps cleaned up. Just knock the grease and slime and sludge off of them so they seat down in here nice and neat. And yeah, my little bungee cord down. Whoop, drop that so it's going forever. We're gonna line this up. Just slide it right back out of the tranny. Come on, baby.
It is not sliding.
Well, sometimes it's hard to get your shaft out of your tranny. Canceled. It was on this day that Smoking Eagle's Rod Shop was officially canceled. Anyway, I'm just gonna slide this right into the back of here. If it'll start moving, there it went. There she be.
You need the washers.
Whoa, I need that to not happen.
Washers on these things.
That's always a bad deal. Don't let your caps fall off the end of your U-joints, and don't smash your finger in it either. Sometimes it can be kind of tricky. Tricky. Give that the tappity tap. Let me get out my trusty hammer.
Need the rubber mount.
It's not all the way on there. Hopefully one of my needle bearings didn't move on us when that tried to slide off of there. One of my bearings got crooked. 2 of them to be exact. So I don't know if you guys can see that down in there, but see those 2 little bearings in the bottom of the cap? That's what happens when that slides off of there. So you don't really want that to happen. So I'm gonna go fix those and slide this back on here. All right, guys. I don't know if you can see that in there. Maybe I can get a little better light here for you. I don't know if you can see that down in there, but all our bearings are back in order. I just took a little pick, got it down in there, slid them right back up into place where they go. And now, this goes on all the way like it's supposed to. And we can try this again. Except for whatever reason, that thing just wants to be stuck in there. There it is.
I lost you.
There's one.
There's two.
There's two. There's three. There's four. Okay, now we just need the grease gun. Grease these bad boys up. There we go. Perfect. That baby's nice and greased. All right, guys, that's gonna sum it up for our front pinion seal fix, repair, replacement, whatever you want to call it on our Ford 9-inch here in the old van. Now, a lot of other vintage or older manufacturers made rear ends that are similar to this, so it should help you no matter what you're really working on. Yeah, a couple things to remember. Make sure you put the washer on before you put the seal back in. You don't want to be that guy. If you've got greasable U-joints, clean them babies up and grease them. They will thank you later, or you'll thank you later, or something. Yeah, one of those things. I'm going to post some other videos around my melon here, stuff I'm doing around the shop. Make sure you go check that stuff out. I'm going to go work on some other videos. Until then, guys, I appreciate all your support. Keep on wrenching. Peace.